Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a quick video, just get everyone caught up. For the few people who watch my videos, I hope I do provide some information or helpful tips or tricks that you use in your layouts or upcoming layouts. Again, I am not an expert. This is just experiences I've learned from my own. I've been doing this about a year now, mainly DC, but now I'm up to DCC, which I'll again talk about here in a little bit. To be quicker, I'm trying to go off some bullet points so I hurry up and don't blather on very much. So let's move on. I do the Reddit, I do the Discord, and I see a lot of questions about power, especially when it comes to turnouts. I run Kato, Unitrack, and Scale. Up on my screen right now, you'll see my current layout. So the red dots are where I have feeders. So let me zoom in here. What I like to do is every section of track, well, not section, but every group of track has a feeder. So the main line, is this outside, and over here to the crossover. That's my main line, and so it has multiple feeders throughout. And then over here, where I have a couple internal loops, this line, the second one from the outside, has a feeder. And then the third loop, which comes off the other loop, has its own feeder as well. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an electrician. I just like to have everything to have its own power source. So does it necessarily need to have a feeder here? Honestly, I don't really know, and I didn't test it because I don't need to test it, because it's just easier to plop down a feeder and everyone's happy. So if you've done your research, you'll see people talk, and you need to solder in every section. You need to isolate your turnouts, and then provide power as needed. I don't do that. None of my turnouts, my crossover, none of this is using any insulated joiners. This is all free flowing, baby, and it is running on DCC-EX 12 volt 5 amp. I have no problems. I can flip this crossover. I flip this one over so the train moves into the third loop, and then once it passes this one, I flip it so then it can do this continuous loop here. And then when I'm ready to move out, I flip this one and it rolls out, and then I flip this one so when it comes back around again, it's all good. I have zero power issues with this layout. I know there's a very respected guy says that he insulates the multiple end of his turnouts. That's great, but I don't need to. I have not found any reason why I need to do that. So I would tell you, go ahead and get those insulated bits, but I would first try it the way it comes. And if you run into power issues, then start using those insulated bits. But at this moment, I don't have any issues. So I would just say, not everything you're told online you have to do. It might be better for you to experiment with your own setup and then work on any kinks you run into. So that's just my bit on turnouts and power. Just put power on every loop, and I don't think you'll have a problem. Moving on. So before this layout here, I was actually running pretty much the same loop, but right here on the main line, I was having some major issues so I'll come down here, go through the X, and come back out here, and I was having derailment right here, or here, and I thought by extending this group here and here it would prevent it, but honestly, more of the times than not, it would derail. I tried different size cars, the length of cars, the weight of cars, it just really didn't matter. So what I did was is I just re-engineered that one spot, and I just used, see, it used before the 249s, and I switched it to the 282s. Pretty much the whole way. I did add a little, again with SCARM, it's not always gonna be exact. It's, I think it's just a quirk with the software sometimes that it doesn't seem to want to work out very well. Doesn't matter. Moving on. So I switched it to the 282s, and I've had zero issues since. So pretty much what I learned is I like S-turns. I really do. I really like, I don't know if they're called chicanes in other parts of the world, S-turns. But I've kind of always liked those. But the 249s, they are just not great for the S-turns. So the 282 has solved those problems. So that's a little quirk I had. But again, it was a quick fix. This was an area of the track I can easily get to. So it was a pretty quick fix, and I'm happy about that. And again, a reminder, I am using roughly just over 100 parts of track, sections of track. As you can tell, SCARM, the free version, stops at 100. So I've had to, kind of change a little bit so I can get the important bits on there. I should have bought a license during Black Friday. So maybe next time they have a big sale, I might look at buying an actual license so I can stop having to work around their limit. That's on me. So again, over just 100 sections of track. I do have a bits that are using multiple small ones because I simply ran out of the big ones. But again, no power issues. That's why Unitrack is a great, just great track. So again, as I said, I'm running DCC-EX. I'm not pushing the boundaries on it. I am just starting off. I got a lot of budget constraints, so I'm not going to be doing anything crazy with it. Hopefully this month I get some of my other engines back from a repair shop, or Scale Trains actually gets in one of the engines I pre-ordered. Very, very excited about that when that comes in. Hopefully it comes in this month. But right now I'm just running the one train. But I do, over here in the next month or two, quickly add 3 or 4 more. And that's going to be a fantastic time. So yeah, DCC-EX, if you're not aware, cheaper system. A lot of great support on their Discord, on their website. I talked about it before. If you search DCC-EX on YouTube, you'll find many videos. Much appraised there. So I just want to mention, I watch other people's YouTubes. I like to see what their layouts look at, their tips and tricks. I do notice a lot of the guys use Unitrack for N-scale, so that's great to see. That makes you, worry free about using those for your layout, no matter what size. But I have to say I'm very different from your normal model railroader. If you look at my layout right now that's on screen, I have no buildings. I have no scenery. I am not an arts and craft guy. I just don't think like that. To me, when I see a space, what I think about is the track. What track can I put in it? The most amount of track that makes sense, and continuous loops, because that's how I like to run things. That doesn't mean I don't want scenery or buildings. I actually do. I have looked on eBay because again, I don't have any supplies. I don't have modeling glue, paints, any of that stuff. So for me to buy all that and then start buying kits, well, I think if I was doing HO and everything was large, I would probably be more inclined to try a kit or two. But in scale, I've watched the videos of guys putting the stuff together, and some of it's pretty easy, but then there's also parts that are really small, and I just can't do that. So I've already determined that for buildings, I'm pretty much going to be buying used, pre-made stuff on eBay. I've checked it. You know, there is various quality of how much dirt and dust are on these buildings, but otherwise they seem to be gradually or generally on the cheaper side, especially when you compare it to having to buy a kit for like $40 or $50, and then having all the supplies to make it, try to paint it, all that jazz. So if you can buy 10 buildings for $50 shipped, I'm gonna probably go that direction. When it comes to actual mountains and tunnels and things, I may try to find some like easier things, like maybe simply just using a box that you cut out. I don't know. I'm not again that worried about it. So I just kind of wanted to mention that all my views really come from running the trains in a continuous loop or loops. Not necessarily the scenery. I don't like to see a lot of empty space, but I do have it planned out for my what I call my semi-permanent layouts to have areas where I can put buildings for industries. So I do have that in my mind, but to me it's really just not a focus. So for example, for one of my upcoming, so this is one of the options I have for a what I call the semi-permanent. Pretty much the left side is pretty much set in stone. This space here, it's the area I can get to pretty much on all four sides. So I wanted it to be the area where a lot of action would happen. So if I wanted to do operations, this would be a great area to do it because I have these down here. I got the two rails that I could put industry on, and then I have here I have another one where it could possibly be a passenger terminal. So you know, just thoughts about it. And I like to throw the switches. So turnouts to me are great because it really spices it up. So you'll see as like the main line comes in, you know, there's a switch here. You can come in, let's say to the city, and then another switch you can get in. And then if you were just simply passing through, the crossover would be set straight. You come around, and then this would be set off to the side. This one's set straight, and boom, you're back out to the main line. And then if you wanted to start doing things, obviously you can throw the switch, and vice versa. And you can even go back out the rail on this one if I wanted to, you know, come around and do it this way. So, you know, I'm just spitballing and thinking, and my plans pretty much always change from what I put in SCARM into when I actually start building it and testing it and seeing how it works. And then on this right side, this is a larger area. I cannot access it from this. This is a wall. Down here is a wall, so I can only access it from here and from right here. So it does limit my ability to reach things. So it's not, and you know, doing operations within scale with how small those couplers are, it could be a real pain. I've kind of tried it with the bamboo sticks. I don't know. It's not, to me, it's not very easy. Eventually you just end up lifting the butt of the loco or the rolling stock. I know there's those magnetic uncoupling things, but I'm just not that interested in it. So anyway, yeah, my future layouts will get much more complicated, and we'll just have to see as things go. So I'm running that now, 16 minutes. And another quick tip, cleaning your track. Again, if you search YouTube's for videos on cleaning your track, you're going to see all the main guys talk about what products they use, that dioxide stuff, mineral spirits, other solutions. Again, I've only ran a train for a year, and it's been really spotty. Sometimes every day, and then there could be a couple weeks. So I don't exactly have a ton of wear on my rails. And whenever I switched out a layout, I'd inspect each section, and every once in a while I would have a little bit of that black oxidized stuff on there, which scrubs right off. So I never really had a gunk because I don't use glue, any of that stuff. So to me, I don't need to use chemicals or mineral spirits or any of the other things, as I haven't had a need to. The only thing that's on my rails really is a little bit of fur from dog or myself, and dust, like you would have anywhere else in your house. So what I would recommend is getting a small little Dirt Devil cordless vacuum. I mean, it can be the $15 one on Amazon, and just suck your rails. Just go down. I like to use the attachment with the brushes on the end, and just go right down your rails and suck them, and that will pretty much clean your rails. And then of course run your train. If you don't have any electrical issues, then you don't need to put stuff on it. You don't need to clean it with mineral spirits if there's no actual issues with your train. If you're looking at your rails and they're all shiny and gleaming, and there's no, bad gunk on there that you can't rub with a, little cloth, then you don't need to be putting stuff on your rails. That's just my opinion. Just use your vacuum cleaner maybe once or twice a week. More if you have a lot of dogs or you're really hairy or real dusty in your house. But I found that just by taking a minute or two to run the little vacuum on my rail, I think you can see the evidence when you do it. And if you haven't done it, you might be surprised about how much dust and fur is actually on your rails that you can't see. But that's just my opinion. Running at 20 minutes now, so I'm going to close it for now. But I would just say, if you're into the hobby, listen to everybody, but you don't necessarily have to follow everybody's advice. Just do what works for you. Thank you.